My name is Liesel Appel. I'm here in Florida, where I moved maybe 7 years ago. I'm an animal rights activist. I'm also an author. I authored 3 books, one in German. I have been vegan for a long time, but vegetarian even longer. I became a vegetarian first because I was not aware of the dairy industry and how evil it is. I was a very little girl when I became aware of a slaughterhouse. My mother and I went to a German island called Norderney for a vacation, and my mother had rented an apartment, and everything was just wonderful. When we arrived on the Friday, we unpacked. It was on a compound. There were geraniums on the windows. Monday morning, I'm still in bed. I suddenly hear this rattling outside. And there are all these trucks outside this gate demanding to be let in. I put my shoes on, my clothes on, and ran outside. And these were trucks, and there were all these animals on these trucks, pigs and calves and no chickens, but mostly pigs and some calves. And these men were just looking so terrible and so horrible. And they took the backs of the trucks down, and then they kicked the animals off. Some of them broke their legs. I was a very, very thin young girl, just not even 10 years old. I was so horrified. I started kicking these guys and demanding that they stop. And then the animals were all put into the slaughterhouse and killed. First they humored me. They thought they just were making fun of me. Little girl attacking these big men, and then they got tired of me. They said, "Little girl, get lost." Well, I never forgot that. I never ate meat again after that. There was just blood all over the place, and it was washed down the next day, and everything was fine again till the next Monday when these trucks came again, and all that slaughter began again. And there's a little bit more background to my story, because I was born in 1941 during World War II, and my father was a Nazi criminal. He was put on trial after the war, but I was born in 1941, and I was actually dedicated to Adolf Hitler just before the end of the war. There was a picture taken, and my father had to make sure I was right behind Adolf Hitler. He was right, and he has this Nazi pin there, and my brother was 20. I was actually created as a special gift. I'm just like a 2-week-old baby and peaceful and serene in my brother's arms. And I should have screamed, but I didn't know. My brother was 20 years older, and he was already in the Navy. And Hitler had decreed that all good Germans should produce more children for the fatherland. So my mother had a special operation to create me to give as a gift to the Führer. And all my early days, I was reminded that I owed a duty and to my fatherland to promote the Aryan race. We had to prove that we were Aryan, and we had a Familienstammbuch, which proved we were Aryans for 7 generations. This photo is in the Holocaust Museum in Washington, and this book here is the Familienstammbuch, which proves that we are Aryan for 7 generations. It's right in there. So I'm part of this Aryan generation, this family. My father was actually an educator. He taught Hitler's Creed. And then he actually committed suicide while we were walking on the beach. This is just before I had the encounter with the slaughterhouse. I was a very sensitive child, and it hit me. My people were guilty of such horror. So almost for the rest of my life, I tried to live as cruelty-free as possible to make up for this tremendous burden that I carried from my country. So I have always done a lot of activism. That's not really connected to animal rights, but I left Germany when I was very young and went to England, married a black musician, and became involved in the civil rights movement, all the African nations trying to throw off the colonial powers. I traveled to Africa when I was very young and always supported the underdog and tried to abolish apartheid. So animal rights activism is actually a progression from there. It's the most important social justice movement right now, I feel. Yeah, so when I was 10, I would not eat any more dead animal bodies. And then much later, when I learned about the dairy industry and all the horrors of it, and egg farming, and that's when I became active in the animal rights movement. And of course, it was a natural progression to become vegan and not just vegetarian. It was not enough. And just being a vegan is not enough either. We have to be active, and we have to do what we can to help the animals. So I'm 80 years old now, I attend quite a few animal rights marches and conferences, and that's when I feel most happy, because I'm with my people. I feel I'm part of them, and I feel kind of isolated when I'm not with my people. I feel that bond, that love in a common cause. And the most terrible, most vicious, most evil things that are going on in the animal agricultural business. I'm part of a book. Apart from my own books, I'm part of another book that's called Eternal Treblinka. That's written by Professor Charles Patterson. And he uses Isaac Singer's words: to the animals we are all Nazis, and for the animals it's an eternal Treblinka. I became part of PETA, and I was reading their magazines. I don't know if PETA has been around 30 years, but I've been part of PETA for a long time. It seems to me that I was being informed by reading about it, and that vegetarianism wasn't really enough. We had to be vegan. So I would say it was about 1980. Maybe 40 years I've been vegan. Time flies. My grandkids don't know me in any other way but vegan. And I have a granddaughter who's an attorney. She's been around for quite a while. She only knows me as a vegan grandma. And there are many young people becoming vegans now, but to me it's just been going on a long time. And so I want to say, what took you so long, It's the only way to live. Who wants to eat a dead body?
What have you noticed different since becoming vegan?
Definitely emotional, much more clarity. And I did it overnight. Just like I became a vegetarian overnight, I became a vegan overnight also, from one day to the next. I would never touch any more dairy products, eggs, anything that makes you vegan, and any animal products, not even honey. I didn't wear leather. I don't have leather couches. I don't have leather in my car. My shoes are all vegan. I'm totally vegan. So it lifts a burden actually from you. And you do feel, why didn't I do this sooner? You feel kind of sorry for those years when you weren't really vegan. That's the only way to live. I did feel a great relief and clarity, physically better. I'm in very good shape. I'm not on any medication whatsoever. I teach water aerobics. For my age, I'm in really good shape. I didn't become vegan for my own health, but for the animals. But it's a byproduct that you feel really good, you're healthy. And then also the environment, it's just a huge part of it also. I know all these things have been said much better by many famous vegans, but for me it was also, I want to live as cruelty-free as possible, since I have this huge burden for my heritage to bear, which is like a bottomless pit that no one can ever fill. But for me, I want to live simply and fairly and carefully, like I always end my speeches, walk gently in sandals of love. I want to be really careful not to want to live totally cruelty-free, if I can, as much as I can. For myself and also to make up for my history. And I think many Germans feel like that also. The modern Germany is very aware of veganism, which I think comes from this terrible background we have. Because if we're so cruel to animals, we're also cruel to people, and until we make peace with all the animals, we're not going to have peace in the world at all. It applies to the Middle East and all over the world. I love my animal rights community. Just came back from a trial in Transylvania County, Brevard, a couple of days ago. A friend of mine, Wayne, was on trial for removing a goat from some goat guy who was selling parts of goats to the public. And he rescued the goat, and he was put on trial for larceny and stealing this goat. And he was found guilty, but in my heart he's a hero. He's my hero. I wish I could go back in time and be younger again, and I would do all these open rescues myself. Get the wire cutter and cut into places. I think these people are just heroes. They're so amazing. Totally free of fear. And they're all doing it for the animals who have no voice. We are the voice for the voiceless.
What's the most important reason for you to be vegan now?
Once you have made that step, there's just no way ever to go back. It would be unthinkable to go back to those dark times. This would not be possible for people like me to ever go back. It's very important also for the environment, and I'm happy to have my grandson be vegan here with me. We have a very nice little vegan household and cook mostly our own food. It's so easy to be vegan too. It's much less costly. I mean, there's just everything positive about it. It has no negativity about it at all. It's all positive. Plus, I feel really good. My mind is sharp.
Why is it important for others to be vegan?
Oh, it would make them much healthier. It's much better for the environment. We have to be so careful of environmental issues. It's such a toll on the environment, these factory farms. So the more people can become vegan, the better it will be for them and the environment. They're going to feel much better for their health. You hear so many people having cancer, being really ill, and there's so many hormones in chickens and the fish. The oceans are being depleted. So I think it's really important that we take care of the environment and stop eating animals, fish, chicken, and everything else. And even bees, we steal their honey, but bees are so important for the survival of our planet.
What challenges have you had, and how did you overcome those?
I know who I am, and I don't really care what people think of me, although I can sometimes feel the snickering and, this laughing of, oh, she's vegan, she only eats kale and that kind of thing. But it doesn't hurt me, and I know I'm totally right. So as to overcome challenges, I just took them in my stride. I just didn't let it bother me at all. So many people, even here in this community, I'm like the only vegan when we have community events. So either I don't go or I tell them I'm vegan, and I can't eat the stuff that they serve there. So sometimes it makes you a little bit lonely, but you also, sometimes I look at people and I say, oh, I wish you could listen to me, and I wish you could learn, you would feel better. You would do much more for the environment, but people don't listen really. They have made it clear to me that they are not going to be vegan. They'll tolerate me in my veganism, but they're not going to change. And you can't really change people unless they want to change themselves. We cannot change other people. We can only change ourselves. So that's been my biggest challenge. But I feel my family respects me. It's a progression from all my other activism. Any activism that I feel like Black Lives Matter. I'm there for all these causes, but the one closest to my heart is the animal rights movement.
How might life be different if you were raised vegan?
I came from a very violent society where millions of human beings were murdered as well. So to be a Nazi is a very violent thing to be. There was a lot of controversy about the book, Eternal Treblinka. The Jewish community was just very upset over it, to compare it to the Holocaust. But to me, it's not strange at all, because for the animals, it is an eternal Treblinka. They have no way out. They're voiceless and hopeless, and whatever little bit we can do, we should do. And I came to it all by myself. I was not brought up that way. So that's why I feel people have to make that journey themselves and have to come to the conclusion themselves. And when I find another vegan and when I'm in a group of vegans, I'm just so happy. I'm in my element.
How do you encourage others to be vegan?
I have a problem trying to influence other people. I don't think it works. I think we have to teach by example and not by what we say, by what we do. So over the years, I have found that my son, my daughter, and other family members have seen me be vegan and they respect it. And I see them ordering vegan food now when we're out, and it's very important for more people to be vegan. It's very important, but I can't really hustle people about it, because I think everyone is on their own journey. They have to find their own way. So I think the example is the best way to do it. Not just talk about it, but to see how you live and that you are the same on the inside as you are on the outside. It's not just lip service. And we are genuine. There's just no way we're going to slip up or not be vegan one day or have something that's not vegan. I never could. It would not pass my lips. And my kids see that conviction. And even my friends now sometimes say, let's go to a vegan place. But I'm not talking about it that much. They just know I'm vegan, they respect it, and maybe I should be more. I can be active in a group, but with my people, my friends, I feel it's not fair to force my opinions on them. Well, when I have people come to my house, and I'm a pretty good cook, I make a wonderful vegan spread, like really good. Many, many different dishes, different flavors, looking so good and colorful, and it's all vegan, and people love it. So that's one way I try to encourage it, and people want the recipe, and even my son, who is a professional chef, has incorporated many of these recipes into his repertoire. I do social media, like every day I post something vegan on Facebook. Don't get much response from it, but it's there and you don't know who will see it. And if I can convert even one person will see it and change their minds, just try it for a day. I was watching Morning Joe earlier last week. That's like MSNBC, and they had a vegan section on it, and that made me feel really good. So I told everyone to watch it. And there are also many politicians vegan now. I just love them. Like Adam Schiff is vegan, and Cory Booker is vegan. Eric Adams too, yeah. So these people, I would support them politically as well, because they're on the right way. They're caring people, they're gentle, their soul is gentle. They will care for people as well as the downtrodden animals. So the main thing is I cook very, very nice vegan food and invite people, and I post something on social media every day, 2 or 3 pieces. I attend conferences and people ask me what was it like. So then I have a chance to tell them what it was like and tell them about my vegan friends, how they're just very gentle souls and very kind. Not how they call them, terrorists. We are not terrorists. We are just gentle souls trying to walk gently on the planet.
Any regrets?
Regrets? Like, yeah. I've been in many lousy relationships. Yeah. I had my wonderful interracial family in England. We were doing well in London. Brought up my 2 kids, and then suddenly I decided I want to come to the United States, and I had no idea what I was encountering. And the place where I brought them was Palm Beach, my black husband and my kids. And that was a big mistake, because he didn't want to come. He was aware of the racial prejudice that existed in those days. We came in 1980. But I said, oh, it's wonderful, the sun is great, and it's a beautiful place. And I had no clue what we would encounter. So we opened a little restaurant on the island of Palm Beach, and I served all health food, and it was a disaster. People would say to me like really bad things, get this black person out of here. When I look up for my dinner, I don't want to look at the N-word. So it was horrible, and I was ready to, I'm very militant in a way, so I tried to close down the whole town. You know, they wouldn't pick up our garbage. They said, your garbage smells, we can't pick it up. So I would say it smells because you haven't picked it up, it's been sitting there in the sun. So any time I always felt I was really in a corner, I was pressured, I would get to the newspaper, and they always wrote very well about it, and they helped us. So once I got publicity, how evil they were and how prejudiced, the town manager came himself and picked the garbage up. So I've been a fighter. I wanted to really fight Palm Beach, but my black husband wouldn't allow it, and he went back to England eventually. He was a very nice man. But he was a great musician, wonderful artist. So I regret convincing him to come to Palm Beach. And now I'm back in Palm Beach, and it's okay. So yes, throughout my life, like all of us have made mistakes, right? And I try to not compromise my core principles. I always stayed the same, and no one could move me from them, like Black Lives Matter and getting rid of apartheid in those early days, and the civil rights movement, and now the animal rights movement. So those things I have remained the same, no matter who was entering my life. Other mistakes, I don't know. I made many, I'm sure, like all of us. Like Wayne said in the trial, I made many mistakes. I have too. People always wanted to fasten themselves onto me, and sometimes I let them, and that wasn't a good idea. I'm happy now with my animals, my dog. I don't know where he is, where she is. We rescued her out of the Everglades. Her name is Spirit. And I have 2 cats as well. They're somewhere around.
Is your dog vegan?
My dog is vegan. I feed her something I get from Chewy. There's a new package coming maybe today. It's called V-Dog. It's totally vegan. And I cook for her. I cook rice and veggies for her also to mix in with it, to give her like home-cooked flavor. So yeah, she's totally vegan. The cats are not.
Are your companion animals rescues?
Yeah, everything is rescue. Yeah. There's a lot of animals being dropped out in the Miami area, in the Everglades. People just drive the animals out there and just dump them out of their cars. And it's just very hard for an animal to survive because you have snakes and alligators and there's very, very terrible conditions. The mosquitoes and, it's just the harshest environment you could have anywhere. And people are so cruel. And we rescued Spirit, her mom and her sister. And the other two were adopted and I kept Spirit. She was maybe 8 months old when we rescued her out of the Everglades. So they're good people. They go out there like once a week and rescue dogs, find them good homes. I've had Spirit 8 years now. But she was never inside a home. She was scared of everything. Just like a ceiling fan would freak her out, and a plastic bag. And the other two, Huckleberry was rescued from an alcoholic previous owner. I wouldn't say owner, parent, I should say. I scooped him up, otherwise he would have been taken to the shelter. And the little one, somebody rescued her out of a tree, and she was a little tiny baby. So we have a family of 5, my grandson, and 3 pets. Our Spirit has been here for 8 years. There were quite a few dogs we rescued that day, and I took the one that no one really was wanting to adopt. They said she looked like a deformed rat, and she's the most precious. People posted on the internet, you adopted a deformed rat. She has a little bit of an underbite there, which is so cute. Isn't she cute? You're so cute. And she has a little heart here. That's so cute. And she smells so good. Mwah. He has hair coming off everywhere. Mwah. She's precious. Mwah. Yeah, so pretty with your dress on. Yeah, got a dress on. Yeah.
She's so calm.
She's calm.
Is she always that calm?
She knows she's loved. She's not. No, I'm surprised she didn't really bark that much when you came in. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. You weren't bad. No, you weren't bad. You weren't bad at all.
Probably because I didn't smell like I've been eating animals.
Yeah. He's my vegan dog. My V-dog. It's my kitty Huckleberry. He's a rescue and he's 18 years old. Still beautiful, handsome lad. And he's loved to bits. Mm. Oh, he was with someone who was an alcoholic. He got evicted. And I scooped up the cat and brought him home.
Why didn't you go vegan sooner?
Yeah, because I wasn't aware. I thought I'm not eating bodies. I wasn't aware of the horror of the dairy industry, quite honestly. I was unaware. Like throughout our lives, we become aware of new things, and then we think, oh, why didn't I come to this sooner? But it is what it is. We all progress like constantly. Today is maybe something new that I could learn and I didn't know yesterday, and that's exactly how it happened with veganism. I wasn't aware. When I became aware, like right away I became vegan. And it's with some other things too that I'm just learning, and if it makes sense to me, I incorporate it in my life.
Prior to going vegan, did you ever think there's no way I could go vegan?
I didn't think it was as necessary as to be vegetarian. And I did think I needed, I never touched milk, but I did eat cheese. And I was misinformed, about calcium and all that stuff. So I felt my body needed cheese and eggs. So maybe I didn't think I could become vegan because I didn't make the connection how really terrible the industry is. Because there's a lot of propaganda too. You see the cows grazing on green grass and happy cows, and happy cheese from happy cows and chickens clicking around. I didn't make the connection at that time. Maybe I've been vegan more than 30 years, a long time. Can't really remember what I was thinking then. But I have progressed throughout my life.
Do you worry about any specific nutrients?
I take no pills. My doctor's amazed how healthy I am. I guess B12 I take. But I get everything from food. I think all the nutrients in abundance and protein, everything we get from our food. There's no need to take supplements or worry about it. I don't worry about it. I feel I'm not deficient of anything. I see many people my age, they cannot do what I can do still. I travel, I went to Greece by myself, I travel by myself, I still have my faculties. I'm not in a wheelchair, I walk, I do things for my body that I put down to my diet as well. But I think exercise is important too, exercise and diet.
What foods do you eat?
Oh, fruit, avocado, a variety of different veggies. We have rice every day. I have cereal and fresh fruit for breakfast, banana and strawberries and raspberries, soy milk, stir fry. I eat beans. I make a lot of lentil soup. It's really good. I like spices and flavorful dishes. There's lots of different colors in it. I like ethnic food, Indian food, Thai food.
How do you suggest others get started?
You can start with one day and try a vegan restaurant. It's so fashionable now, though, too. I think more and more people become vegan like every day. I saw it in Germany so much, like all over. In the smallest little village, they have vegan dishes. You go out with a friend who's vegan, try a vegan dish, you like it, you make it, and it doesn't have to be like overnight like I did it, but maybe your mind gets opened a little bit and you try something vegan and then it might take hold of you. And then next time you sit in front of a dead bird on Thanksgiving, you're just going to really not like it. And of course also see those videos like Dominion and those really powerful things that are available on the internet. If I can only get people to watch those things.
Do you have a success story you'd like to share?
Well, my grandson is vegan and he became vegan through me, so that's one person. That's really the only one I know. I don't know about success stories. I have not heard anyone come up to me and say, I became vegan because of you. I haven't had that. It would make me very happy, but I haven't had that experience yet. Hopefully, people see my post, which is like every day, a couple or 2 or 3 every day. And hopefully it will sink in and maybe change some minds. But it's definitely in my family and my friends, they're thinking about it. It might take a little bit longer, but I think it's coming. I've had people say, that makes sense and that sounds right, and I will try. I try not to be pushy. I think Wayne is the same way. He doesn't push people, does he? He's so kind, and he always says people have to find their own way. He's especially kind to the other side, like the people in the slaughterhouses, and I try to live that same way. So I can't really say anyone has come up to me and say I became vegan because of you, except my grandson, which is the most important.
What resources do you recommend?
I think everyone should be part of DXE, because that's really the most grassroots, the most vibrant community. You can learn so much, so many resources. Of course, movies like Dominion, and if people would only watch it, but they say, oh, I can't bear to see animal cruelty, so they kind of flake out. But and also I thought the one about the ocean was excellent. That was recent. Sea piracy.
Spiracy. Seaspiracy.
I thought we were pirates of the sea, stealing from the sea. That's what I thought. Okay, I learned. It was very, very informative. Because people think that fish is okay to eat, and really it's not. We're depleting our oceans. It was so terrible too, so profoundly horrible what they do to fish. Go to all the conferences. They do great meetups in California, in San Francisco every year. You learn so much when you go there. The Animal Liberation Conference is such a good resource. You learn so much. It's like intense learning for the whole week. And we are with like-minded people. The food is great. It's very inexpensive. And you come back on such a high. I think that's the best thing people can do. There were thousands of us there last time I went.
Why do you think some people quit veganism?
I have no idea how they quit and why they would quit. I've heard people say, I used to be vegan, but I gave it up because I needed the protein, or my doctor said I needed protein. I think it's the medical profession, they're so uninformed. Even my very own doctor, he knows really nothing about it. I was talked into flu shots this year. So I asked him, is there egg in it? And he had to go and check, and he came back and he said, yes. So I said, well, then I can't have it. Can you find one that doesn't have egg in it or any animal products? So doctors are pretty uninformed, most of them. This is a young guy. He's in his 30s. He's a great doctor, but he's very uninformed about veganism, unfortunately. Because their doctor tells them they got to quit because they're losing weight, or they're needed for whatever illness ails them. They need to have red meat or chicken or protein. They don't get enough protein. All that nonsense they hear from their own doctors. I had to take care of my husband, not the black husband, the last husband. And he was always told that he needed to drink milk and eat the chickens and things from his doctor. So veganism was just not accepted, especially for old people. I know very few senior citizens that are vegan. I do a lot of volunteering, like for AmeriCorps. That's a Peace Corps for seniors. And I go into senior citizens' facilities, and there's no vegan food. It's all heavy on meat, chicken and cheese and things. I think people will live longer if they live a healthy lifestyle like we do. So I think it's a shame that I think that's where we have to start educating those people. Even veterinarians, they eat meat, right? It's like doctors eating their patients, right? Your veterinarian is supposed to take care of animals, but you eat animals. I just can't understand that. So I think that's why people sometimes give up, because a doctor tells them, or their family tells them, oh, you're losing weight, you're not looking good, you should eat meat again. And if people are not totally committed and they do it for other reasons and not the animals, then they might go back, they might falter and give it up. I think the main reason is, like Isaac Singer said, I'm not vegan for my health, I'm vegan for the health of the chickens. And if you believe that totally in your core, in your soul, then there's no way of going back. Because for the animals, it's always the same. They have no choice. And to eat a sentient being is just unbelievably cruel and destroys our soul. So that's when people go back. They're doctors. And I personally could never touch meat again. I don't even like touching it. I can't even go buy it in the supermarket. I have to turn my face the other direction.
Do you ever think you'll need to eat animals or their secretions again?
I'd rather die than eat secretions. It's the last time I eat snow, I eat stones. I eat grass, I eat leaves. I would never eat a sentient being. Never, ever, ever. No secretions or milk or anything like that. Never, ever would I. Never.
What's a favorite quote?
If not for myself, who will be for me? If only for myself, who am I? If not now, when? It's a Jewish wisdom. There's no particular author, but it's from the Jewish wisdom. And I do like Gibran, our children are not our children. They're the sons and daughters of life longing for itself. We can house their bodies, but not their spirits, because their spirits live in the house of tomorrow, which we cannot visit, not even in our dreams. I like that.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think we all put on this earth with a particular mission. There's a purpose of us being here. We're not just here to hang out and consume stuff and just live. Each one of us has a mission, and when we find that mission, it's just really remarkable. And if we got to complete our mission, it's even more remarkable. And I was very fortunate to be able to do that. Which brings me to the book, The Neighbor's Son. In my hometown, when I was 9 years old, before the encounter in the slaughterhouse, I encountered a stranger going down our street. I was playing outside, and he said, "Little girl, where do you live?" And I pointed to our house. And that's how I found out about the Holocaust. The man told me that his infant son had been thrown from the balcony at the back of the house, from the high-story balcony, and during Kristallnacht, and he was certain his son would have been killed. But a miracle happened, and a neighbor stepped forward and caught the baby in his arms. And I immediately, as a little girl, said, that man was my papa, my father, my hero. I took him by the hand and took him inside our house to take him. I told him my father had died the previous year, but he should meet my mother, and we would all be so proud of my father. That's how I found out my parents were Nazis, and they were on the other side. The Jew was ejected from our house, and I took the side of the Jew instead of my family. And at that young age, I turned away from them. And I never let go of him. I was trying to find him as soon as I could, and I came to England and did everything to try and find him. And the baby, too, because the baby did survive. Somebody saved the baby. So that was my life's mission, to find this man. And when I did find them after so many years, which was only, I had written the book and everything, it was maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and they were all dead. So I immediately flew to Israel and went to all the grave sites. And I've always said I cannot take on all the evil that went on in my country, but I want to take care of my neighbors. I want to ask their forgiveness. They were our neighbors, and we turned against them. We destroyed them. And I'm the only one left in my family, so that's what I had to do. And I went to the grave sites, I left stones with indelible ink. So at that time, my life's mission was completed. And then my hometown didn't want to hear from me at all. They were not even acknowledging that these people had been my neighbors and lived next door. But then recently, there was a change, and they invited me back too. So I'm totally completed my life's mission. Finding the neighbor's son, asking forgiveness for my family, for my people, and trying to get justice for them too. I taught in schools over there. I went to all the schools and told the children, these were your neighbors, and don't ever let this happen again. The kids were crying, and so that was my work. Apart from the animal rights work, my mission was the neighbor's son. The original photograph of my name-giving ceremony is actually in the Holocaust Museum in Washington. I was a little baby there being dedicated to Adolf Hitler. My father, my mom, and my brother, who was in the Navy. And I don't know how people can do that to a little infant, to dedicate them to such a horrible cause. Fortunately, I had enough sense to turn away. And actually, I turned everything that I had learned as a child against my parents, against my people. I just found my own way. I wrote this one first, and then the rabbi in Asheville read it. This is like a memoir and has sex in it and all kinds of things. So the rabbi said, I want to make this as a teaching tool. Can you write it for children? So I wrote another one for children. It's called Child Without a Country. This Rabbi Ratner from Asheville, he kind of commissioned it. And I put some historical facts in it. And then eventually in Germany, I wrote a book in German too. So 3. Because that's what I teach. We become what we can't forgive. I teach the Jewish community because some of them holding on, and they actually become like that. We become what we can't forgive. So I've had many survivors hear me, and when I first started, they're kind of, as a German, they hear my accent. I'm very aware of my accent, so they hate me already. And then eventually I have to turn I feel that turning in the room, how we all become one, and then many hug me after, and they have never shared their story. They shared with me, and we cried together. I was at the Fifth Avenue Synagogue in New York doing this one time, during Holocaust Memorial Service, and all the men were saying, when she comes, we're going to leave the room. And I had to keep them there. I was able to do it, and something miraculous happened in the room. It's absolutely amazing. When they let me come to the end of it, and I humbly salute them, and something really remarkable happens. So that I've done that work apart from my other work. So that's, I feel that's important, that we all have a mission, and that we get to complete our mission to the best of our ability. So that got a bit off track from your animal rights thing. But I'm a complex person with so many facets, because I've lived so long.
And you have plenty of time left, too, to do a lot more, I think. Hanging out with Wayne.
I was trying to save some goats.
I had to ask him, I was like, so what do you, because people were like, why are you saving just one animal, and I asked him about that, and just to clarify that for them so they can understand it, I understand it.
I totally understand it. We save one, we save the whole world. Absolutely.
And I think there's a lot of relevance, crossover between your other experiences. And of course, it makes it very interesting to hear about all that. So profound.
I think children have an innocence that some of them lose, when you get older and you get buttered with everything that you learn in school. But children have that innocence. They love animals, they reach out to them. And I had that as a child. I could see right from wrong when my country couldn't. I immediately saw that the Jewish man was telling me the right thing. I immediately realized that he was right and my family was wrong. So children have that innocence and that profound knowledge of right and wrong. That's when I was still innocent. That's in Bottrop, my hometown, where I had my awakening. I was 9 when I met the Jewish man. And this is kind of cool. Remember Brigitte Bardot? She was like a famous actress, like top actress. But she's also vegan, Brigitte Bardot. This is really, really old, but somebody gave that to me not too long ago, and in the middle of this magazine with Brigitte Bardot in the front, there is me. And it says, white woman amongst black rebels. Like a German woman is fighting in Africa, and it says, white woman amongst black rebels. That's my little son, who's like almost 60 years old now. Los Angeles Times. That's in 1988. That's just my story. It's called The Awakening. Anyway, this is my brother. He was in the German Navy when I was born. I was very nurtured and protected kid. My mom, my brother, myself. My brother was handsome. That's one of my readings. So one of these days I was doing a lot of press. Never for myself, but always to to her because how different I look there. Okay.
We need to make you a proper scrapbook.
I'm very bad at this. It's flying to Africa. And I wore fake fur. This is not real fur. I was flying to the Congo to fight with the rebel forces. They were overthrowing a dictator called Chombe. It was a puppet of the Belgium. Yeah, it was like actually the front page of the Daily Telegraph, me and my kid. Okay, I was flying to Bonn when Chombe, the dictator, came there to get a loan from the government, and I was trying to prevent it. I was pointing out how evil he was, and I was a militant like these kids are now. I was doing my own direct action everywhere, absolutely. And I was nice looking, so the press would follow me around. They would get me on the same flights at Chombe, and I would send messages while we're in the flight in air. And